the Songhees, Esquimalt, Pakachin, Sartlip, Sayout, Hello, I'm so sorry that happened to me. Wow, working things out here. So our acknowledgement is heartfelt. We lift up our hands in respect to the Lekwungen and Wasanic people, the Songhees, Esquimalt, Sartlip, Sayout, Sakum, Pakachin, and Malahat, whose relationship with the land is sacred and continues. We dedicate ourselves to learning about the local Indigenous people and culture, to share what we learn, and to listen to and respect Indigenous voices. So Heichka, thank you for that. For today's presentation, we ask that you remain muted and with the video off so we can enjoy a high quality viewing experience. If you have any questions for our guests, please type them into the chat and I will pose them on your behalf after the presentation. E-Comm is the first point of contact for 911 callers in Victoria and 24 other regional districts in British Columbia, handling 99% of British Columbia's 911 call volume. E-Comm call takers help to save lives and protect property by answering calls from the public in their time of need. To tell us more, we welcome Nina Morales, Talent Advisor for E-Comm 911. Welcome, Nina.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me this afternoon.
Oh, thank you for being here and have a great presentation.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. So hi everyone, welcome. My name is Nina. As Jeff mentioned, I'm a talent advisor here at E-Comm. Just here this afternoon to give you a little bit of information about one of the primary roles that we recruit for at E-Comm, which is the 911 call taker. So to get us started, just a quick introduction, that's me, talent advisor here at E-Comm, and my role specifically at E-Comm is to look after the onboarding and recruitment of 911 call takers on Vancouver Island and at our location in the Lower Mainland. So I put my email address down there as well in case anybody would like to connect later on after the session. I'm more than happy for you to reach out and we can have a chat. Sorry, okay. Oops. Having a few issues. So I don't want to go over this too much. Jeff gave you a brief overview of who we are at E-Comm. So as he mentioned, we handle 99% of the province's 911 calls. And throughout last year, we answered over 2 million calls. I think it was closer to 2.1 million calls. So the role that call takers play at E-Comm is very important. As you can see here with the other dot points, I won't go into too much detail through all of them, but if you do have any specific questions, I'm happy to take them at the end. What we think most people really need to know is E-Comm was created after the Stanley Cup riots in 1994. Previous to that, police, fire, and paramedics were unable to communicate with each other directly. They didn't share a radio network. There was no crossover. In order for them to connect directly, they would all either have to be on scene speaking to each other directly. Otherwise, they would be making calls in the background to connect with each other. E-Comm here on the Lower Mainland and on Vancouver Island, we support both emergency and non-emergency phone calls through our 911 queue, and we do provide call taking and dispatching services for police and fire departments. Our location on Vancouver Island specifically only looks after police call taking. So, and then as I mentioned, we have 2 locations in BC, one in Vancouver and one in Saanich on Vancouver Island. So, sorry, having a few technical issues. Okay, so what do we do? So at E-Comm, as Jeff mentioned, we do 911 call taking. Specifically at Vancouver Island, we only do, as mentioned, call taking for police departments. On the Lower Mainland, we do call taking and the 911 queue, which is the first point of call when you dial 911. If you have dialed 911 or you haven't, when you dial, you will have someone who answers the phone and asks, do you need police, fire, or ambulance, and which city are you located? So that would be the 911 call taker just here. The role that we're recruiting for specifically in Vancouver Island at the moment is for the emergency call taker. So the emergency call taker is the person that you are connected with once you've let the 911 call taker know whether you need police and which city that you're located in. With the emergency call takers, they are the ones that take all the details. So we call them the core W's at E-Comm. So it's who, what, where, when, and whether whoever you're reporting has weapons or not. They do a risk assessment asking about the presence of drugs, alcohol, or weapons. So as the call taker, you are speaking directly with the caller. The call taker then passes the information on to the dispatcher, who speaks directly with the police officer to provide them the information as they are on their way to the scene. So I won't go into too much detail about this side over here with the radio systems and the police, fire, ambulance, but as I mentioned, if you do have any questions about that, more than happy to answer. So call takers are essentially on Vancouver Island our first point of call for any callers. It is important for call takers to make sure that they listen, they process the information in a timely manner in order to get help to the caller as soon as possible. So as you can see here with the emergency communications, we don't just do police, fire and ambulance. There are other people within BC and other groups that do use our radio network. So with search and rescue, BC EHS dispatch, BC wildfire, and the HealthLink non-emergency line 811 also uses our services. So who are you? So when we say who are you, these are some of the attributes that we think are embodied by all of our members here at E-Comm. I think I would have to say that the underlying thing that attracts everybody to E-Comm and has us stay is our want to serve the community. So with that in mind, obviously there are a few other things that we look for in our candidates. So I'll briefly go around this diagram. I won't go into too much detail. So we are looking for team players. All of our call takers are placed on a team when they work at E-Comm. We do have 4 teams. So it's the ability to be able to take feedback from your supervisors and from more senior call takers. It's not a personal thing when they give you feedback, is what we like to remind people, is we are trying to get you to be the best call taker that you can be. And we believe that without feedback and constant training, that we're not necessarily going to get everybody to that level, which is why we provide constant feedback and constant training. So we are looking for people with patience and tolerance. You need to remember that as a call taker, you are dealing with people who may be having the worst day of their lives, whatever the situation is. So we need to remember that we need to be understanding and compassionate, and our job is to help the call taker through the situation that they're going through as smoothly as possible. We're looking for people with critical thinking, who can think outside the box, who are curious and want to ask questions and get to know more about the situation that the caller is in, and to, I guess, show a lot of active and passive listening, meaning that you need to hear exactly what the caller is saying, and you also need to hear what they aren't saying. We do have a lot of callers who dial in and aren't necessarily able to speak in full sentences or give you a ton of information, where this is where the call taker comes in, asking yes and no questions, or questions where callers, if they aren't in a safe situation, can give you responses that will answer your questions without alerting anybody else within the scene. We think that our call takers are problem solvers. You need to be able to work on your feet, think critically, and there's not always going to be someone there to sort of give you a yes or a no on any decisions that you should make. We put full trust in our call takers to make the best decision possible at the time in the situation. There is time to debrief after to see if there was something you could do better or differently to help the caller or the situation. But problem solving is a huge thing for us. We also need call takers who are reliable and dependable. At E-Comm, as a call taker, it is shift work. It's 4 days on and 4 days off. So it's 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and then 4 days off. So with that being said, it is important with employees at E-Comm that they are reliable and dependable. Your teammates depend on you to be on time for work, to relieve them after 12 hours, just as much as you depend on the next person starting after you to be on time. We need people to be reliable to their callers, to their teammates, to everybody at E-Comm in order for the organization to flow. And without teamwork and dependability, E-Comm would really be suffering. So, transferable skills. By no means are these bubbles here an exhaustive or extensive list of transferable skills. We find that some of or all of these skills that are listed are what a lot of our candidates have or bring to the job. So I would say our largest or our biggest transferable skill is customer service in any sort of form. If you've worked in retail and you've dealt with an irate customer and managed to stay calm and diffuse a situation, if you've worked in hospitality in a restaurant or a bar and you've dealt with drunk patrons or angry customers regarding food and meals and service, then we want you. We find that a lot of people with customer service backgrounds deal well with callers in high stress situations, managing to stay calm and get the information that they need, which in turn, I guess, lowers the stress of our callers to be able to get the information that we need. Outreach and crisis work experience, again, it's not necessary, but we find a lot of people who have dealt with high stress situations again and having to call 911 on a daily basis, that they have the ability and I guess the understanding to listen and to practice the active and passive listening that we're looking for in order to hear what our callers are really saying and what they really need. A lot of our 911 calls are not direct. It's not people calling you to list out all the information. They are normally highly panicked, as mentioned, having the worst day of their lives. And we just need people to be able to help them work through their emotions and to be able to communicate calmly and get the information that's required. I would say that description would also cross over into nursing or social work, into our veterans or first responders. Again, having that sort of common background can be helpful, but it is by no means, I guess, a rigid requirement to be a call taker. You would be surprised at the background that our call takers come from. A lot of them do not come from call center operations. They are not veterans or first responders. But these are some of the underlying skills that we like people to have. With call center operations, even if you've only worked there for a short amount of time, we understand sort of the high pressure situations and I guess the timeliness of dealing with customers that you would have to deal with. And we know that if people have had some experience with that, that sometimes when there's a big emergency, there's sort of any heightened situations that they can stay calm under pressure while getting all the information that they need, speaking to callers in a timely manner without being rude, without cutting them off, and getting the information that they need and making sure that callers know that they are being listened. So, just a brief bit of information about our recruitment process. So there are 7 steps. I do need to stress that our recruitment process can be lengthy. I think on average, it's about 2 months. That does take into consideration a lot of things, especially the Vancouver Police Department security clearance. So with step 1, with our online application and pre-screen questions, all candidates are required to fill in an online application with some pre-screen questions just to ensure that you fit the requirements that we need. So some of our baseline requirements include having a high school diploma or a GED. There are residency requirements as well. That's related directly to the security clearance. So for you to be able to be employed by E-Comm, you have to either be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, or resided in Canada for 3 out of the last 5 years. If you haven't, that's okay. We would have to put your application on hold until you met those requirements, because that is the requirement set out to us by the Vancouver Police Department. Assuming you pass all the pre-screen questions and there are no issues with being able to travel to one of our locations, the next step is a talent click assessment. It's just a 45-minute talent assessment. It just looks at personality and fit. It is by no means a barrier to you working at E-Comm. We have a predetermined sort of range that we look at. Doesn't matter where you fall on the range, we do add you. And then the next step after that would be the video interview. So with us, the video interview is a self-recorded thing. We send you a link for an application that we use. You can either use it through a desktop or download the app to a smartphone if you have one. And then it's, I think, 15 questions. We ask you just general questions. Tell us a bit about yourself. Why did you apply to E-Comm? And then we run through a few situational questions just to sort of see, I guess, where your curiosity lies, sort of how we think you would deal with 911 calls. After completing those 2 steps, our next step is our recruitment testing session. The recruitment testing session is run online. It is run every Monday. We send out a link at 10 a.m. on the Monday morning, and you can access the testing until 11:59 p.m. that night. So the recruitment testing session tests the hard skills that are required by our call takers to be able to fulfill their roles. So there's certain sections, there's memory recall, there's some audio recall, there is a typing test, there's map reading, and there's some call summarization modules. There's, I think, a total of 15 modules. You do have to pass all 15 modules in order to move to step 5. But with the recruitment testing session, you do get 4 attempts at the test. So if you make it to the testing session and then you decide, like, you don't pass the first time, we can let you try it 3 more times. You don't need to book it for the next week. We are more than happy for people to take a break in between, practice their skills, and then come back and take the testing session when they're ready. We do have multiple intakes a year. So just because you start your application in January doesn't mean it needs to be done by the end of January. You know, we understand that things come up in life. So if you need to put it on hold and come back in a couple of months, it's totally fine. So then after the recruitment testing session, we do host a panel interview, sort of depending on the dates. They are either over Zoom or can be in person at our location in Saanich, which is on the screen behind me. So the panel interview is about 60 minutes. It is normally someone from our people and culture team. So it's normally myself and one of the supervisors from our Vancouver Island location. It's a HR question, sorry, and then we do run over some situational things, and then it gives you time to ask us any questions that you may have if you haven't been in contact with anybody in the first 4 steps. So pending passing the panel interview, if you do pass, we do have 3 other things that need to be done before we do make a job offer. There is a VPD security clearance. So with that, there is paperwork to fill out. We send it off to the VPD. Once you're done, they contact you to set up an in-person interview. With the security clearance and the in-person interview, you are required to travel to the mainland to meet a detective at one of the VPD offices in downtown Vancouver. E-Comm will cover the cost if you take the ferry, so that we don't want people to see this as a barrier, or depending on your situation, it might not be a great situation at the time for you to be able to come over. We do look after those costs. They are reimbursed. that is the longest part, I would say, of the recruitment process. The security clearance can take up to 8 weeks. That's just due to the backlog with the VPD and them being short-staffed at the moment. So while you are waiting for your VPD security clearance interview, we do also conduct references, which are all done online. You upload your information and the system sends out an email to your referees to complete the form, and then you are required to get an audiogram, which is a hearing test. All call takers are required to get this and send in their results, just to make sure that you can hear properly when you are using our headsets and taking calls. If there are sort of any fluctuations in the hearing test that we get, we do have workarounds for those. So if perhaps you think you don't have the greatest hearing, that is not a reason to not apply. Like I said, we do have workarounds for that in order for you to make sure that your hearing is as best as possible. And then our last step after security clearance, references and audiogram would be a job offer. So all our positions at the moment at E-Comm on the island are regular full-time positions. That is all we are hiring for at the moment. We assign you to a team and to an intake that we've already determined that fits with your schedule. And then we go from there. You come in, you have an orientation, you get to meet our manager, meet some of the team, have a look at our facilities, and then you start training the next day. So what can we offer you if you come to join us at E-Comm? So first of all, at E-Comm, what we offer is ongoing training and development. It connects into this next step of career development, whereby we provide ongoing training and development within the call taker position. But I would say that most people at E-Comm use that as a starting off point as a call taker. If you join E-Comm and you would like to be a call taker, and you don't feel like you want to change positions with us, then we would love to have you stay as a call taker. But we do also offer training and development with careers and within the call taker position for you to be able to move throughout our organisation. On the operations side, which is where the call takers fall under, the next step up, I guess, as a promotional move would be as a dispatcher. And then there are other positions moving on from the dispatcher intraday, which would be in the moment scheduling. There's supervisors, so either a team supervisor or a team lead. You could become a centre supervisor. It depends on sort of what's available. And we do have some people that move into training, which is where you would be teaching new candidates all of the skills on becoming a police call taker. We also have exempt roles, so non-operational roles that you can move into as well in areas including corporate communication, who look after our LinkedIn, our Twitter and our Instagram, people and culture. So human resources is the team that I'm part of, and technology. So that is generally service desk, but we do also have other positions that include our wireless networks who administer the antennas and the wide area radio network, which the police, fire and ambulance use. We offer a competitive salary. To note that the salaries listed here are 2022 rates. We are actually in a bargaining period at the moment, so these rates will be increasing for 2023. Because bargaining is still going, I don't have any set rates, but at the moment it's 2807 while you're on probation, and your probation period will last approximately 9 months. And that for 2022 increases to $30.41 once your probation is complete. We also offer a comprehensive benefits package. So we cover medical and dental. I think most of the things are 80% covered by E-Comm. The only thing that isn't covered, that is 100% covered by the employee, would be long-term disability, which would kick in after 1 year of employment. We also offer a lot of mental health supports. We understand that the role of a call taker is highly stressful. You never know what the call is going to be when you pick up that phone. So E-Comm, we do offer, besides having counselling as part of our benefits package, we do offer 6 sessions with an E-Comm covered counsellor. So you connect directly with one of the counsellors we are connected with. They bill your session directly to E-Comm, so you will never see a bill for that for the 6 sessions. You can then use your counselling benefits, which have increased to $2,500 a year to cover any further counselling sessions if you feel like you require them. We also have Resilient Minds training and CIS training, which are both peer run. So they would be administered by someone else who is a call taker or a dispatcher, someone that works on the operations floor with you. I'll just give you a brief overview. Resilient Minds training is something that we have done in partnership with the Canadian Mental Health Association. They had a Resilient Minds training program set up for the Vancouver Fire Department. We have gone through training with them in order to have the program tailored to emergency communications. And so we are opening that to our peers, so other E-Comm members, to sign up for training to be like peer coach or counselors in that, who will then be able to coach other team members, I guess, on the skills that they've learned to become more resilient and to keep a healthy mental mindset. The same goes for the CIS training, that is critical incident stress training. So if you answered a call that was a highly stressful situation, CIS is where a member of your team can provide you as a first line or a first point of contact. They provide you confidential counselling and support. You can go and talk to one of them if you need to debrief, if you're still feeling uncomfortable about the call that you've dealt with. You can approach them directly. Someone else in your team or a manager may suggest you speak to them if they think that maybe you've been affected by a call a little bit more than you should be. But with the peer support training, we find it is very helpful because the people who are counselling you are people that have sat in the same seat as you. They've gone sort of through the same calls, so they understand the emotions that you're feeling. And sometimes we find it's easy to connect with people on that sort of level who understand exactly what you're going through. Oh, sorry, okay, so I just have a short 3-minute video I'd love to play for you. It just gives you some background about E-Comm and call taking from current call takers that work with us on the Lower Mainland and in Saanich. It gives you sort of a little overview of the role. You can see our locations and sort of see what they look like and where you might be working. And then just a little bit of brief information about how they feel and why they work at E-Comm. So I'll hit play. Please let me know if you can't hear anything. No?
Have you ever considered what it takes to be one call taker? Every hour, we work hard to save lives and protect property with each call we take. This is a challenging career, but it can be absolutely rewarding for the right person.
The most rewarding part of being a call taker is definitely being able to help people in the worst moments of their life. They won't remember what I said to them, but they're definitely going to remember how I made them feel. And I'm just so honored to be able to be a part of that process. A typical day as a call taker, it's a 12-hour shift. We work 4 days on and 4 days off. So those first 2 days are day shifts and the second 2 days are night shifts. We answer both emergency and non-emergency calls. You never really know what's going to come in on the line. So you have to be ready for anything. So even at 4 in the morning, you know you need to be alert and ready to respond to emergencies. Some of the calls that we take, of course, can be upsetting. So there is that emotional impact to call takers. It's hard not to take things home sometimes. E-Comm offers a peer-run critical incident stress program. So after those potentially traumatic calls, we meet with peers to decompress, diffuse, talk about it with someone who understands.
What we do isn't for everyone, but for those with the patience, resiliency, tolerance, and drive to tackle the truly rewarding challenges, it can be everything. We are looking for the best candidates to join our team. To get you there, we provide all the training you need in both classroom and on the job. working with you to ensure you successfully complete each phase.
My most memorable call was a call for someone who had ended their life. The most impactful part for me was the mother was on the line when she told her 12-year-old daughter that daddy has taken his life. And so I have a 12-year-old daughter. The hardest thing about this job, I think, is hearing some of the more traumatic calls. It can be really difficult, but we have really good mental health support here. And I've had a couple calls that I've, gone off the floor and talked.
I would definitely recommend this career to others because you're always learning, you're always growing. There's such a team atmosphere here. You're contributing to your community.
Being part of the people that also work here and being part of that giant passion for the community and the safety of everybody.
What I am most proud of when it comes to my career as a call taker is being part of the difference, being part of that solution, even in its littlest part.
It's great to work as part of such a tight-knit team and help the public out every day.
If you're a highly motivated and driven person and you're passionate about giving back to the public, I would highly recommend this career to you.
I would recommend this career to others because it's a very meaningful career. It's very impactful. You get to feel good about the work that you're doing. I would recommend becoming a 911 call taker because this job is hugely rewarding. It's a difficult job, but it's also something that you can go home at the end of the day feeling like you made a difference.
You can wake up tomorrow knowing you helped change, save, and protect lives the night before. Make BC safer.
Save lives and protect property.
Join us at E-Comm 911 today.
So I hope that gave you a little overview of the call taker position, and I'm open to any questions if anybody has any. Thank you, Jeff.
Hi, Nina. Thank you for that presentation. It was great. It was awesome. I learned so much about the 911 role and the E-Comm position. I have a couple questions here. And again, if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat and I will definitely present them here. One of them, the first question I have is looking at the whole idea of the stress that's related to the job. So it says, it seems like the work is very stressful, but presumably you have call takers who have worked there for many years. What's the secret to their success?
Oh, just to preface, I have never worked as a 911 call taker at E-Comm, so I'll give you the information that I have. So yes, we do have quite a few people that have come to join us that have been here 10, 15, 20 years. I think, to be honest, especially on the island, a lot of our people that have been there for a little while, bear in mind our facility on the island, I believe only opened in 1999. So with people that have been there since then, they did come from other police departments. And then when they all amalgamated at E-Comm, they came from there. So that, I would say, would be part of the reason why some have had quite a long career with us. I would also say going into the job with realistic expectations and being able to manage, I guess, the stress of the call. So having good mental and physical sort of outlets to de-stress after work and to understand the rotational shift work and what that all entails. That entails maybe missing Christmas, maybe missing a birthday. So we want to ensure that people come in knowing that those are possibilities. You might not miss it every year. You might miss it for 2 years. You might never miss it at all. It really just depends on the situation. So I would say that, along with, like I said, some of the mental health supports that we've started implementing and looking at more this year are what help people sort of, for lack of a better term, stay sane and continue to answer the calls that they do. Awesome.
Thank you for that. I used to work in corrections and I understand the value of having that support and
Yes.
the challenges, but yet also some of the rewards of working those shifts that do overlap over holidays and stuff. So there is a real value to that too.
Yes, I definitely agree. My partner is a police officer, so I understand sort of the stresses that come with it, even though I'm not directly on the front line. So it is stressful, but definitely rewarding.
Awesome. No, that's great. Second question here. I have a person here on the call today who started the process of hiring for E-Comm 911 and They filled out including the pre-screening questionnaire, but never
Okay.
received any email reply from there. And they were just wondering, is that normal? Is that part of the process?
It's not. I would have to look at your application. You may have filled in something. If you were studying, we require full-time availability. So if you picked certain answers, your application won't move forward, but you should have received an email to let you know why. If you want to, I don't know if you want to pop your email in the chat, or I can go back to the other screen with my email address. If you'd like to email me, I'm more than happy to check your application.
Nina, actually, it might be easier because I'm sure there might be other people with questions if you provided your email again.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's okay. So it's just here at the bottom. Like I said, oh, sorry, I realized there's a spelling error. There's 2 M's in E-Comm. Apologies. It was so it's at ECOMM911.ca. But I feel free to email me if anybody has any questions. If you know anybody else that might be interested, we do run other programs. We have a student program that if you are enrolled in full-time or part-time studies and can't commit to full-time work availability, we do that. We started running it on the island in 2022. The program will be coming back next year. You will just have slightly different responsibilities than that of a police call taker so that you can fit in work around your studies.
Awesome. And I added your email to the chat too.
Oh,
Nina, so it's
thank
out there
you.
for everyone. No problem. And I spelled it correctly.
Okay. Thank you.
I just noticed watching the video there that there obviously a large level of technology that's involved with this role. What are some of the requirements for technology use before you can be successful to apply?
To be honest, there aren't any specifically for technology. I think with the testing, if you make it through the testing, then that sort of level of tech savvy is more than enough. You will learn how to use all the specific systems that we use during training. I think the hardest sort of requirement that we have would be keyboarding, so typing skills. It is a minimum of 44 words per minute. We do provide some links so that people can do free online testing and practicing. There are also some paid ones if people are interested in doing that as well. All of that information is provided when you book in for one of our testing sessions. So it's up to you what you'd like to utilize if you want to do any of those. And we can provide you your scores and the benchmarks that we require after you've done the testing, so people can see sort of where their level is at compared to what we need and what they can maybe focus more practice on before attempting the test again.
Okay, thank you for that.
Not a problem.
Just again, in the video there, you talked about there being 4 teams.
Yes.
How large are these teams? Because it looked like there was quite a large working area in there.
So you would have seen one of the scenes towards the end where there was like a massive operations floor. So that's our Lower Mainland location. At any one time here in Vancouver, there's probably 80 to 100 people answering calls, dispatching, answering the queue. Vancouver Island, we also have 4 teams. They are a little bit smaller than what we have on the mainland, but that's also due to the fact that Vancouver Island only does police, and on the mainland we do police and fire from our location. So the teams in Saanich are probably about, I would say, 15 to 20 people. So it's a bit closer on the island just because the teams are smaller, so everybody gets to spend a little bit more time with each other.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, it's I was taken aback by the size of the one in Vancouver. That was quite large.
It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the typical call volume like for people that are taking calls?
It would honestly depend on the city that you're looking after. And then on Vancouver Island, it would only depend on the city that you are looking after, sort of how many calls happening there. On average, E-Comm just as a whole gets approximately 5,000 calls a day. So it's definitely increased since we started. That there's a lot of public education out there trying to make people more aware of what is an emergency for 911 and what can go to our non-emergency line so that we can provide our services faster to the public for those who really need it. But yeah, 5,000 calls on average over both locations. So it can get hectic, obviously, when there's big events on. So for example, here in the mainland, when there's celebration of lights, or if there's any festivals or parades on, the call volume does spike. But we do have things in place for that. We do have extra call takers that do come in and do overtime and pick up shifts at that point, just to sort of, I guess, relieve their co-workers so that not everyone is sort of drowning under calls.
Yeah, I would assume that overtime is a major component of what's happening right now.
Yes. So overtime is offered. We don't necessarily put a cap on overtime. We do to a point where we will not let you work 10 days in a row on a 12-hour shift. We obviously, we would know what sort of effects that would have on you mentally, physically, so that wouldn't happen. Overtime is available for everyone. You can take overtime. You don't have to take overtime, whatever sort of works for your schedule. On the island, most of our shifts are 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then for the night shifts, it's 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. Once you've started with us, they do have some alternate shift patterns. So we do have some employees who work only day shifts. We have some people that only work night shifts. So if you do start with us, it's one of those things that we can discuss with the manager at our ECVI, so Vancouver Island location. And there are things that we can work out to sort of have a schedule that fits with your personal life.
On the grounds of schedule, are there any shifts that aren't 12-hour shifts?
Yes, so we do have they're called alternate shift patterns. So outside of the 12 hours, they aren't offered when you first start, just because we need you to be there to sort of hone your skills, sort of lock them down. And then once that's done, we can look at alternate shift patterns for you, depending on the needs of the team that you're assigned to. You can possibly move to another team if there's a shift pattern there that fits better for you, but it would have to be discussed with scheduling and the manager. But I know on Vancouver Island, they're a little bit more flexible because the team is smaller than we are on the mainland.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that. I like the options that
Yes.
there is possibility. If 12 hours just seems like really long.
It's a lot.
It can be definitely.
Yes.
So Jason has said, thanks for all the information, and then has a question for applicants. Is it fairly high for people's application not to go all the way through? And is the turnaround fairly high? So thanks again. So again, what's the percentage of people that apply that actually make it to jobs, if you know anywhere around that? And what's the turnover like for established employees?
In the I guess the amount of people that make it through the whole process, we do track it, but I don't have specific numbers on me. I would say, if I'm being honest, the biggest barrier for most people where they sort of, I guess, end the recruitment process would be at the recruitment testing session stage. 44 words per minute at the moment is a hard number. You are not considered passed if you type 43 words. If you type 42 words, it has to be 44 or above. So I would say that's sort of the biggest barrier for people. As I mentioned, there are 4 attempts to take the test. So if you do apply and you get to the testing session, my recommendation is to take it once, see where you fall, what you might need to practice on, take a few weeks to practice, and then book in for a testing session. We do, like I said, we run them every Monday, unless there is a stat holiday, then they run on the Tuesday. So I would say that would be the biggest barrier. Turnover, again, we do track it. I don't have numbers. We do keep in mind a lot of people who join us at E-Comm on Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland use us as a stepping stone into becoming first responders, so police, fire, paramedics. So with those people who have those intentions in mind, it's totally fine. We will take you for as long as we can before you move on in your journey. But they normally stay, I would say, 1 or 2 years. We get a lot of candidates who are deferred from policing or fire or paramedics just due to the fact that they need to get more life experience, I guess, within crisis work, within first responder work. So we get a lot of people that come to us via those channels. Like I said, again, happy to have you for as long as we can before we wish you well on your journey. But I would say the turnover in that aspect can be high because they're going on to, we were never their end goal for their career. Otherwise, sometimes people, they think they are a great fit for the job. We think they are. And then sometimes they get to training and realize that it's not a fit for them, whether it be their ability to handle the calls and the stress, the shift work, spending time away from your loved ones. So there is turnover in that sense as well, which we obviously try to mitigate by being as open and upfront about how stressful and how much time the career with E-Comm can take. So that is another source of turnover. But I would say on the island, to be honest, the turnover is pretty low compared to the Lower Mainland.
Okay, thank you. And looking at just sort of that idea of building team and that what does E-Comm have sort of programs for staff to get together and have social outings, that kind of stuff? Because it seems like it'd be a very stressful job.
Yes, so generally speaking, we do have intakes. So when people join E-Comm, they join in a class. It's normally somewhere, just referring to the island, there are always small classes than what we have. On the mainland, we have classes of 12. On the island, we have classes of 6. So within those 6 in the class, you are assigned to a team. Most people, there'll be at least 2 of you being assigned to the same team. So you have someone to go through training with and then start on the rotation with, so you're not on your own. We find a lot of teams sort of do their own socializing just because of the scheduling. So I know on Vancouver Island, each team throughout summer has been having a barbecue. So our manager will come, some of the employees will come and help cook the barbecue. So there's one for every team. They do some of their own sort of things, social things outside of work. They have sports teams. Some people will just sort of, get together on their own, go to the hockey, sort of do outdoor activities. There's, I would say, nothing specifically that we organise just because of the scheduling, but the teams are always very good at organising things for each other. We have an outdoor section at our location on the island. So there's barbecues, they play sports. We do provide equipment. There is a gym, so people like to work out together as a way of bonding and de-stressing at the same time. So there are definitely options.
Okay, awesome. I just keep asking you questions.
No, it's fine. Ask
all
away.
these questions popping into my head. Do you mind explaining the training process, and is there a training wage involved?
Yes. So the training wage is $28.07. So that's per hour. As I mentioned, that is the 2022 rate, just because the call taker role is unionized, and it is a bargaining year this year with the union. So I don't have rates for next year, but working on the assumption, as per every other year, the rate has gone up every time we've gone to bargaining. So the rate will be a little bit higher for 2023. Probation is sort of the same length as the training. So it is 9 months. So with training, your first day, you come for orientation. It's a half day at our location in Saanich, which is the image behind me. So you get to meet the manager, you get to meet health and wellness, corporate communication, sort of all the different departments within E-Comm. And then you come back for system setup and police call taker training. That takes about 3.5 weeks. So once you're done with that, there are quizzes and exam involved in that 3 weeks. They are open book, so no need to memorize all the information that you get. After that, you are placed with a mentor. So you would join the team that you've been assigned to. You sit with a mentor who helps guide you through 911 calls. You essentially take charge of the call, but they are plugged in and can hear what the caller is saying and can help you out. If you get a little frozen or you're a little stuck or you're not sure what to do, they provide feedback. You can ask to listen to your calls again after the call is ended to sort of see, pinpoint the feedback that they're talking about and to listen and see where you can improve. After the peer mentoring section, you do a pre-technical where training comes and they listen to your calls and make sure that you're ready to sit the technical. So the technical is then the final step where you are assessed in your ability to take a call. The technicals can be delayed a little bit. It depends on what calls come in. All of our technicals are based on live 911 calls. Once you pass that technical, you are signed off as a fully fledged police call taker, and then you get to start taking calls on your own.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, it's a few steps, but it goes very quickly.
Well, and I love the support. I love that it's not like, here you go. It's like,
Yes.
we're here with you all along the way, and we're here to help support you.
You wouldn't be able to do this position without the support and the feedback of all your other team members. Like I said, I know I haven't been a 911 call taker, but when I've gone out to listen and when I speak to other 911 call takers, that is the one thing that sort of keeps them sane and helps them through is the support and feedback from their team members.
Awesome. Nina, thank you so much for all this information.
Not a problem at all.
For everyone out there, we have about 6 more minutes with Nina. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat. It's the last opportunity to hear from her in person before you'd have to email her with any questions and stuff. So if you have anything, toss that in there. Nina, how many people are you looking for on the island?
We're sort of open at the moment. We have one more intake for this year for 2022, and then we are starting to recruit for 2023 with our first class in 2023 starting, I believe, mid-January. So we take six at every intake, but we do have space to take 8. So sort of it just depends. We are looking for as many people as possible. I know probably a lot of you have seen on Global and CTV that there is a shortage, and the wait times that do come with the shortage of employees. So we are looking for people. Like I said, we have 6 or 7 intakes a year. So if you started the application now, you made it to the end to the job offer, you aren't ready to join us in January, we are more than happy to slot you in a class further down the line to fit in any personal commitments that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Let me jump in quickly. Nina, thank you so much. This has been really great. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Lane. I handle community engagement for Work BC. Was very pleased to organize today's event and to have Nina here. I got a question privately in the chat from Allison asking about whether or not the training schedule also follows that shift schedule of day and nights, or does the training happen solely during sort of business hours?
Part of the training does. The first 3 weeks, the first 3.5 weeks, that's in classroom training. So that's regular sort of business hours. Generally speaking, it's about 7 or 7:30 until 3 or 3:30. All of that is classroom training. And then once that 3.5 weeks is done is when you would start following your rotation.
Okay, awesome.
That's great. And if I can just share one more thing, I want to let everyone know that there's an opportunity coming up to see the E-Comm 911 folks in person. What happened to my beautiful poster that I was going to share?
Oh, there you go.
There it is. Everyone can see that. So at our public service career fair that we're just letting everyone know about today, that's going to be happening on October 6th, a Thursday from 3 until 6 o'clock. And recruiters from E-Comm 911 will be there in person to speak to you in office about your interest in the opportunities and any questions that you might want to have for them then. So thank you very much, Nina and Mandy. I don't know if she was able to make it or not.
I think so, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. For being available today and for taking part in our event on the 6th. Really glad to have you there.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much for having us. Please feel free to reach out to me via email. I'm happy to set up a call if you'd like to speak in person. It's not a problem at all. Just let me know and I'm happy to do that for you. So thank you, Mike and Jeff, for having me this afternoon and for everybody else for attending. And we hope to meet you on October 6th at the job fair in Victoria.
Awesome. Thank you, Nina. Thank you for your time and all the information today. Thank you for answering all my questions and for just sharing your the passion for this job and letting us know exactly what it entails. So thank you so much.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.